Hi, this is Jim from Trek World. Today we're going to take a look at what appears to be a self-published book that came out in 2013 originally. And while it doesn't really tell us anything we didn't already know, I think it puts it through in a way that's very unconventional compared to what we'd seen before. That book, Star Trek, exploring the original series.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Remember that in all of these videos, there's going to be a link in the description that you can go to where you will actually be taken to an affiliate link on Amazon showing you the availability of the books that I've been discussing. Okay, so the first thing I noticed about this book when I got it, first off, I found it originally on Amazon. It's about 350 pages. It's actually pretty good size. I think I paid about $20 for this on Amazon used. I think the brand new versions are only like $23. It appears to be self-published, although he does refer to the fact, obviously, he has an agent on the back, and he has co-written another book, but I don't believe it was done through this particular publishing imprint of Varmint, which I think after checking historical records on his website was what he had just chosen to name his self-publishing venture. There are indeed things in this book that he approached in a very unconventional way compared to what we've seen in other books. Most notably being that every photograph in the book is a screen capture that he either downloaded from TrekCore or he screen capped himself. Now, the logic behind this is the beginning of the book contains the typical fair use doctrine, which says that, hey, if I do something and I use it for expository reasons, teaching, commentary, things of that nature, then, I should be safe from copyright. However, at the end of the day, I'm not quite sure how successful that was for him. The book's still for sale, so I guess that's a good sign for him. It's just that fair use is a defense when accused. It is not a license. So should Paramount, Skydance, or Pocket Books decide to claim copyright infringement, that leaves you a little bit of a gray area. It's for this reason alone that I've never seen this done in any other reference book. So it's a bold approach. I can honestly even understand his logical reasoning for it. I use the exact same fair use to defend when I use video clips of Star Trek in our videos. And they have in the past been contested by CBS, and CBS agreed in every case to my fair use argument. The only thing I'm concerned with is that generally fair use does not transcend medium. Now, the first few pages in this book are your traditional acknowledgments, introduction, things of that nature. And then it rolls right into season 1. Where it takes a look at each episode and gives us his unique thoughts on those episodes. Let's take a look at what one of those reviews looks like. Now, each of the episodes in these seasons are ranked according to what he believes are the best episodes, and then counting down reverse from that list. So, appropriate enough, City on the Edge of Forever is our number 1 from season 1. Now, in addition to the screen cap, he gives us this information. On April 6, 1967, the all-time best episode of any Star Trek series or season. At $245,000, it was also the most expensive TOS episode ever made. Set on the Mayberry lot, it was a charm that could never be duplicated. Wonderful story by Harlan Ellison. The writing, acting, cast, and directing are perfect in every way. Some of the things to watch for in the episode: Emmett's Fix-It Shop and Floyd's Barber Shop are from the Desilu 40 Acres backlot that was used also for Mayberry. Now, some items of trivia that he talks about, of course, are the fact that Harlan Ellison absolutely hated what Gene Roddenberry did to the script. Highlighted that even though the television series won a Hugo Award in 1968 for Best Dramatic Presentation, that same year, the Writers Guild of America awarded Best 1-Hour Script to Ellison. So I know that he had won that award based on what he thought should have been, but the bottom line was the script was never shot that way, nor was ever finally written that way. Let's take a quick look at what he says about season 2. And in this case, no real suspense here. Journey to Babel.
Hello, how are you doing? My name is Leo. I'm calling from Sacramento, California. I just happened to see your video on YouTube today about Star Trek and Star Trek World. My comment is about the mystery ship, or the Lee Ferguson ship that was created by AMT. I actually purchased one of those, and I've had it hanging up in my bedroom since 1976, far beyond the glow-in-the-dark status, I think, but it's been around for at least 50 years hanging in my household. So some of us still are aware of that model, and some of us still have it. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Now, after he goes through all 3 seasons, he gives us a roundup of his top 5. So I think I'm going to read his top 5 and his bottom 5, and leave your comments below as to where you disagree or agree. Number 1, City on the Edge of Forever. Number 2, This Side of Paradise. Number 3, All Our Yesterdays. Number 4 is Miri. And number 5, Journey to Babel. More interestingly are his bottom 5. Number 1, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Number 2, Turnabout Intruder. Number 3, The Savage Curtain. Number 4, Day of the Dove. And number 5, The Empath. He shows a remarkable appreciation for action and seems to be less appreciative when it's more of a classical drama. And anyone who would put all 5 of those episodes above Spock's brain has a unique perspective on Star Trek. Then the next thing he does is actually pretty neat. He calls it a menagerie gallery. And what he does is he takes each episode, starting with 1 and going all the way through, and tells you in each episode what creatures we see in it. And then after that, he gets into red shirts and revolving characters. And he actually does a little math here, which I think is kind of fun. We've seen all of this stuff before, but let's visit it again. He says in a total count of the original series, there were 60 crew members that died. Of that, 73% of them were red shirts. 17 of the 60 were named, the rest were uncredited. He then goes on to show us all of the red shirts in each and every episode, one by one. And he does list some absolutely amazing facts in here that I like. Nobody else has ever pointed out when doing the red shirt analysis for me. I'm not going to give you the individual details because, let's face it, there's got to be a reason for you to buy the book, and I do believe this is worth the $20, okay? But some of the interesting red shirt statistics are pretty slick. There was one, and only one, female red shirt that died. There was one red shirt that, as he says it, was red-shirted twice. And there were red shirts who came back from the dead. And this one I have to identify, the most red shirts in a single episode to expire, the Tholian Web. 10 red shirts. Only one red shirt that wasn't human, and the last red shirt to die in the line of duty in the episode That Which Survives. And then, of course, we're talking about the original Star Trek, so we absolutely, positively have to talk about women, right? So he decides to, let's talk about women. The green ones and the not-so-green ones. Of course, the very first woman in Star Trek, Vina the Cage, played by Susan Oliver. And he completely redefines the term girl watching as he takes us through each and every episode and what females are shown. Now, in this book, what does show up from time to time, which is another reason why I think it's self-published, is there are some passages that actually identify a fact, and then they have red line struck it out. But when they printed the book, they actually included the red line comment by accident. Case in point, Return of the Archons would actually point out that the people are celebrating a Mardi Gras festival, but then they struck out Mardi Gras when they realized that wasn't the case. It's just festival. You say tomato, I say tomato. And I have to admit, this is Star Trek, the original series. This is probably the single biggest section in the entire book. So as a result, while I continue to read the remaining women in Star Trek, why don't you go ahead, grab a soda, chat with your neighbor, cut the grass, and I'll come back to you when I'm done.
A few moments later.
And now that we're back, the next section moves on to a group that he calls Roddenberry's Lieutenants. And basically, these are all of the production people and actors that Roddenberry has been associated with through Star Trek and through his various other producing credits. For the most part, it looks like he has sourced the majority of this information from Susan Sackett's book and Joel Engel's book, James Van Heis's book, and of course, The Making of Star Trek from Stephen E. Whitfield. But I do have to give him credit in this section. As you can see here, James Goldstone is one of the directors on Star Trek, and he goes through all the directors as well, and he lists a lot of their credits too. And he sourced them basically from IMDb, Wikipedia, and Memory Alpha. Then there is the prototypical Where Are They Now chapter that talks about where these people went to after Star Trek. Then there's a chapter on what he calls Trek Fun, which is really just jokes, top 10 lists, stuff like that. They are somewhat out of place in a book that up to this point has been basically research-based. He also provides a couple pages of bingo cards for Star Trek Bingo. Then he gets into merchandising. So you got Starfleet Battles, you've got Star Trek Online, any of the different things that Star Trek has licensed since the original series. Then finally gives us a glossary. Bottom line is I think the book is a good book. He did a lot of research from a lot of very standard locations, but he distilled that information down into small digestible bites tied to individual episodes, which was a pretty neat approach and may even be used by me repeatedly as I do videos where I need specific information on an episode. Now, this particular copy I got is actually autographed by him. He goes by the name EJ. You can see it was actually signed to someone named Jenny in 2013. So there's a possibility that he was either at a con or that he did actually do a book reading at a bookstore, because believe it or not, back in 2013 and 2012, there were actually still bookstores doing book signings even for local young independent authors. So I think it's pretty slick. I do recommend you go out and get it. Before you go, though, I need to read you these 3 quotes on the back of this book, because it's like getting 3 references for your resume and getting your preacher, your brother, and your boss to write those references. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. The first reference that comes up says, an incredibly satisfying exploration of the original series. I wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone interested in the history of Star Trek. I am a minister of the Lord, and I wouldn't lie. Check 1. The next one here says, the most fun I've had reading in decades. A home run for E.J. Wilson. Signed, his literary agent. And finally, I love this one. Absolutely. God bless family. My brother is the most smartest and entertaining human being I've ever met. He writes me letters all the time, and they're great. So EJ, if you're out there, congratulations, dude. I think you did a real good job with this. Please forgive me. I'm not poking fun at you. I guess this is one of those things where they tell you don't laugh at people, you laugh with them. I appreciate what you've done. And yes, it is going to be something that I recommend to myself and to others as a really good index episode by episode for this book. So by all means, feel free to leave me a comment down below if you agree or disagree. And then, of course, as usual, if anybody needs, if you have more information pertaining to this, or EJ, if you would like to talk, you can reach me at jim@trekworld.com, and we'll see where it goes from there. So now let's get up with the fun stuff, like this right over here.